And he said, when you're not thinking about me, you're vulnerable. So in connection with what he said about thoughts, you really can't get rid of thoughts. And thoughts are what enslave us. Thoughts enslave us. So when you consider that statement, how it's been emphasized here, trying to make the mind blank. Blank from what? From thoughts. When you consider that, and then you consider Baba's statement, when you're not thinking about me, you're vulnerable, then you begin to see the importance of trying to train your mind to, first of all, appreciate Baba to the extent where it becomes easier to think about him, a perfect being. I was trying to grasp in some way for myself how to think about Baba. And I was thinking, well now, here's someone who is perfect. So I began to think, what is that? His infinite consciousness. He knows everything. He is the only one who has the capability of being concerned about my state of consciousness, about my feelings, about the freedom that I don't feel. He's the only one being infinite and perfect. Why shouldn't that be enough to cause my mind to always prefer to think about him rather than the many things it does think about? Why shouldn't that be enough? That leads to the next step. You say, well, I do think about other things, obviously. And that no matter how important, the thought about Baba is very important because he symbolizes something very great. But notwithstanding that, the mind allows itself to be captive of these thoughts, enslaved, which brings about worry, irritation, reaction, concern, which makes illusion reality. So the work, Baba says, is that you have to do more work to think about me. Remember, you have a way of knowing when you're not thinking about me. And you have a way of critically examining what that state of mind is in terms of its quality for your own personal well-being. You find it to be anything but desirable for the most part. But yet when you think about me, why is it you don't feel something more? It's because while you're thinking about me, your mind is still thinking about this over here. So you really can't see and appreciate what I really am. So Baba makes this very clear in many, 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 many ways. And I also tried to think, I said, now, where did my thoughts come from? My thoughts come from the beginning of time. The beginning of time meaning that as I gradually gained consciousness, that consciousness I gained was consciousness of illusion. And that has existed from time out of memory. That has existed from the vast, vast stretches of mind that the mind can conceive of. Such vastness. It's good to dwell on the vastness of that. And you say, that is how it is. Out of all of that vastness, out of all of that consciousness dwelling on nothing but illusion, I have come to this place where I am now. And I am expected, after all of that vastness that has enslaved my consciousness with thoughts whose roots are as deep as that vastness, I am expected to, in one fell swoop, even though I believe about the God-man, to expect that thought about the God-man to make me forget all of this. It doesn't work that way. The fact that you can even begin to forget all of this by thinking of the God-man is in itself a miracle. If you begin to see how long you've come, the distance that we've come is unbelievable. To struggle very hard, and this is exactly what I tried to do. I tried to see, because first of all, I believed everything that Baba said. Even those things that I didn't understand, I nevertheless believed them, which made me wait patiently to try to understand them some way. That in itself was a miracle, because I believed him in spite of all of the vastness. And this is what helps us. But we have to work. We have to work. He said, you have to think of me over and over and over again. It's remarkable that someone who actually loves us, totally, divinely loves us, in a sense where there is no separation, it's remarkable that our mind doesn't go to thinking about that person more. But yet, Baba says that. It's not easy to think about me. It's not easy to love me. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to obey me. But keep doing this. You see, we don't expect an instantaneous thing. Our reaction is that we expect an instant thing. When we expect something from the God-man, what we really expect is the satisfaction of our desires, the very thing that holds us a slave. That's what we want. When we want results, the results that we want are the satisfaction of our desires. And it's our desires that enslave us. That's the paradox. We have to wake up to that. We have to remember that our consciousness is not free, but our consciousness is something that is beyond description. We have a treasure that is beyond description. The ordinariness of a human being and everything that comes out of his mouth, everything that is seen in his actions. In spite of that ordinariness, that individual houses a treasure. Consciousness. Consciousness is not seen as a treasure because it's not been used. It's not been used to reveal its magnificence. It's used to be down in the pit of illusion, believing that what is unreal is real. But we're carrying around that magnificent accomplishment that took aeons of time to accomplish. We're walking around with it. It is so accepted and so ignored, which is incredible. Far more so than the sun, which is nothing in comparison. Consciousness includes everything. The sun is ignored, and yet it sustains all of life on this planet. But it's ignored, except when it gets too hot or it's too absent, and then it's thought about. So that consciousness is the treasure. And that consciousness is absolutely enslaved. And the only thing that has the only possibility of counteracting that which occupies consciousness, that rivets consciousness, the only thing is the conviction one has in a true God-man. That's the only thing. And that conviction, being weak, must grow until it becomes very strong. And it can only grow by constantly trying to find your own way. Every single road leads to the goal. Every single road leads to the goal. That means every state of mind, every individual, wherever he is on a path to the goal. But who wants to go the long path? Who wants to go through all that suffering? Because that's exactly what imprisoned consciousness means. It is without a doubt. Every thought is a shackle. So Baba says, try to be a witness. Try somehow to identify yourself with consciousness rather than that which holds consciousness captive, thoughts. Do that. He said, I am the way of doing that. Why Baba is so taken for granted is because he does not juggle illusion. He doesn't juggle illusion. Just as he said to those early disciples when they were so impressed that a stranger saw some kind of a magic thing coming from the bungalow where Baba was training his disciples. He saw this light emanate from this building. And they were saying, why? Why is it that we, your disciples, do not experience what a stranger experiences? And Baba's response was, you don't need these kinds of gimmicks. How cheap it is to allow ourselves to be swayed by these things. We have to do work and realize that it's nothing. Baba could give each one of us a planet and have everything on that planet that you think you want, and you'd have nothing because you're still enslaved. That's the point. You're still a slave. The king of the planet is a slave. The king of the universe is a slave because his consciousness has not been emancipated. That's how vulnerable we are. And the only key, I think what we have to realize is the only key is the God-man. That's what we have to realize. He said it. If one is there who has arrived at the goal, whose consciousness is totally emancipated. Remember what he said? You need me as a crutch. And he said, look how magnificent he is. At the right time, you can discard even me. At the right time. But what do you call a crutch that is absolutely indispensable? That's more than a crutch. But Baba is saying that you cannot do it on your own. If you think you make progress, you're kidding yourself. The events of life will bring you to another little rough place, will smash you up against the side or against another boulder. And you'll find out you didn't have any freedom after all. You have a certain freedom. You have a freedom to use your thoughts, to place them in the only secure harbor there is, on the God-man, and let him do his work. That's the point. Impersonal meditation is very good. It's very good because when you begin to think about Baba, obviously you begin to think about his universal qualities. The form aspect of it is merely to focus your mind. It's a reminder of what you really are. A reminder. And what is so irresistible about what you can see in the God-man is irresistible because it's closest to your heart, because that is you. So meditation has to go on as much as we can accomplish it during the course of the day. Now, bear in mind also that Baba is explaining all of these things once and for all. But at the same time, he says the shortcut is to hold on to me. To hold on to me ultimately over and over and over and over and over again is to keep your emotions under control by thinking about me. By realizing what your emotions are. They're your enemy. That's your link with your very limited past. To try somehow to contain them in the right way. The right way is to see them with some degree of detachment. That's the work that we have to do. While we're feeling an emotion, we think about Baba, you're not going to get rid of the emotion. It has to go on. The thinking has to go on until there's some possibility of a change, until you begin to see the emotion for what it is. All of this is internal. It's what real spiritual work consists of. It's an internal thing that doesn't have the kind of visibility that perhaps is thought of as being spiritual work, but it's the real work. It's the work of the real hero who knows that no matter what his mind places before him, he has to take it. And this is what Baba said. You have to, the conviction that you have to get is to find the way to believe that Baba is one totally in control of your life. That's no easy thing to do.